Greetings to the graduating class of the CPU up at Manchester with Rob. Thanks, Rob, for dropping me a note to say some words to your students. Interestingly, I was just discussing with a group online at the moment of architectural practice owners, and I think that the message here I can share with your students, and it can be adapted for them as well. So there's an inner game here. There's an inner game to business, there's an inner game to our careers, and there are certain things that we can do that can really make a big difference in being able for us to be able to provide leadership to those people around us who need the support, to be able to bring clarity to our own circumstances, and most importantly, to be able to take control of things that we can be in control of in our businesses and have the ability to be able to plan ahead. Emotional intelligence, self-awareness, the mental discipline, being emphatic to yourself, like really like listening to yourself in terms of being okay with where you're at right now and to others is really fundamental. So the first point I want to make, well, the first part of this formula is get altitude. So what I mean by get altitude is perspective, long-term view, and to understand that everything is in contraction and expansion. And when we bring perspective to the situation that's happening right now, I think this is really making a lot of people reprioritize what's important. And very quickly, when shit goes down like what's happening right now, when we're dealing with difficult circumstances on a global scale, we really reprioritize what's most important, and that's, I would say, for 99% of everybody, it's their family, their loved ones, and your health. And those things really are what's important, and that puts it in perspective. Now, when we bring perspective to our businesses, to careers, to economic climates, we start to see that human beings have dealt with crises since the beginning of time. And when we take a long-term view of things, we start to see trends that weren't previously there, and we start to unveil opportunities that we thought didn't exist. For example, here is a graph showing the probability of a recession in the US from 92. We can see here this is the 2001 recession triggered by the Twin Towers. This is the 2008 recession, and we're looking at one happening around here potentially. So lots of us graduated around here, and it brought up lots of different opportunities. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if I hadn't graduated into a recession. I'm telling you, that's for sure. And I absolutely love my career at the moment. It's incredible. And graduating into a recession wasn't easy as such, but it opened up new possibilities and new ways of thinking about what it could be to practice as an architect. What does it mean to be an architect in the 21st century? I want to show some of these graphs of just bringing up more context. So this is from 1947. We've always got time along the bottom here. We can just see, all of these. This is cyclical. Recessions happen, and they're often triggered by certain things. This is from the 70s. This is the kind of probability of recessions in the UK. And again, this is a graph showing from 1881, showing all the different events that have triggered vast sways in economic change. Again, we have the same sort of thing here. And it's important to recognise that the nature of business, the nature of the economy is cyclical, and there are peaks and troughs to it. Economies go through cycles. Here, we want to be aware of when we're in a peak, and we want to be preparing for the troughs. And when we're in a trough, we want to be knowing that a peak will come back. And the name of the game is to be able to raise the median, to raise the trend line, and to be aware when we're at the peaks, to be preparing for the troughs. And if we go through a trough and we haven't prepared for it, then we start preparing for the next trough. So everything that we're learning here in this trough is preparing us to be in amazing shape for this trough. So when I said graduating in a recession in 2008 was a real ball ache, well, it got me thinking about my life, what I wanted to be doing, where I wanted to be going, and started a very different pathway that opened up. Number 2, get responsible. So many people might have read Jocko Willink, who's a Navy SEALs commando, and his idea of extreme ownership. And the real point here is that we are, as human beings, we're 100% responsible for our experience. And the more that we can be responsible for, there's a difference between that and being accountable, but the more that we can take on responsibility, the more fulfilling and empowered we are in life. Now, when we start saying I'm 100% responsible, when I start talking about being responsible for the clouds, okay, there's no scientific evidence to provide that I am responsible for the clouds, but when I stand in that as a position, when I start, I feel empowered. When I start being 100% responsible for my experience, then quite extraordinary things start to open up, and even the most dire of circumstances can become opportunities to grow and develop. Being responsible for your inner experience, we can ask ourselves the question, start taking stock of the things that you are thinking on a daily basis. What things are you worried about that you can't actually control? What can you directly control? Normally our physical domain, our physical space, we can take immediate control of. Is what I think true? I would question and interrogate everything that we think is true. This is part of the beauty of being an architect, is we're interrogators of truth. We're interrogators of of physical domains, so we can apply that to our own brains. Is what you're thinking helping you? Is it helping me? Is it stressing me out? And where am I blaming something that I have no control over? When we start blaming governments, when we start blaming other people, when we start blaming other nations for what's happening right now, it often leads down the dark path of disempowerment and stress and anxiety. And the third part of this is, who can I be? Ask the question, what's actually possible? Now, often in our minds, when we ask the question what's possible, our brain will kind of have a very limited view of what's possible, and we think that nothing is possible. The real question is, what could be possible? And who do you need to be for that to happen? What can you make happen now? This is the be do have model, the be do have model of coaching that I use a lot with clients and with architects, that we want to be responsible for our preferences, our beliefs, our attitudes, our values. We are in complete control of those 100% of the time. Now, they're not visible. They're not always visible to us. This is the work that we have to do. When we're in control of this, we interrogate what we believe, we interrogate our attitudes, we ask questions of our preferences, we start changing our own reality. We start a change in the way the world occurs for us. This changes our behaviours. Changing behaviours changes the results that we get. And I like this bit here, because when we're doing that, when we're acting like this, then we have an opportunity to be able to serve other people. Most of the world has it set up like do, have, be. I need to do this in order to be happy, then I'll have that, and then I'll be happy, etc., etc. Be, do, have changes that all the way around. You bring your happiness and your fulfillment to whatever tasks you are doing. You are the generator of fulfillment and happiness. So that's all I'm going to say for now. I hope that's useful, and if anyone needs a chat or anything, or any other kind of mindset talks, I'm always here. Cheers.